behavior change project is one that's going to be wound through the remaining of the semester. So I'd like to spend some time talking about that behavior change progress or process. One of the things that we need to think about with behavior change is the factors that shape the way that we view ourselves. So what about what's in your mind, your perspective? What is it that you feel is awesome? What do you feel that you value about yourself? And what kind of motivations do you have to take care of yourself? Self-esteem is a component of behavior change that is an influence of whether or not we value ourselves to make a behavior change or to change a negative behavior to make or to add a good behavior into our lives. So there is a way of looking at self-esteem that you believe that you have intrinsic value, you know there's worth, and with that, feeling good when you make a change is intrinsic motivation. So a reward might be, I'm really going to feel good when I reach this goal. Achievement self-esteem has to do with feeling positive about yourself because of the approval of others, or because you've reached a space where you look in the mirror and you're really proud of the appearance on the outside, that you have feeling good about yourself about something that's kind of external. It's not internal, it's external. It makes it very difficult unless you get those external motivators sometimes to make that healthy behavior. So self-acceptance versus achievement. Feeling good that you know that your worth is there versus someone needs to pat me on the back or acknowledge me or give me an award. That's achievement self-esteem. So it goes with the two directions. Do I have conditions for myself to meet that I set my own success, or do you think that there's an inherent value that everybody has? So do you have to have conditions, or do you have something within you because you know that you're valuable? Does this influence or impact your well-being? And if you change, can that affect your physical wellness? Well, how we think about ourselves is sometimes maybe not clearly evident unless you can have an example. And I'll tell you that my mother lost 100 pounds and she was 5'3". So that was a significant amount of body mass loss. And my father said to her, she felt good. She went to weekly meetings and got lots of accolades. She was someone in the local newspaper wrote an article about her, and she was featured in our local newspaper. But my father made a statement, and he said, well, you don't look any different to me. And that would be an external. So finding your worth or your self-esteem because of meeting the bar. Well, my mom ended up gaining quite a bit of her weight back. And I always think of that as a good example of that external versus internal change. So both can be effective, right? Both can be effective. But when you have that internal worth, you have no one but yourself to prove, right? So the models of behavior change are two. The trans-theoretical model has stages to look at your stage of readiness, and those are the stages of change. There are processes of change, decision making, self-efficacy, and also facing temptations. The stages of change are the base of the trans-theoretical model, and we start at one end and progress to a lifestyle where that is becoming what your normal is. So pre-contemplation means that you're not even contemplating. It's before you think about it. Contemplation is you're thinking about or intending to change. Pre-contemplation is it's not even on your radar. Preparation is when you're making those, start to make those plans. Action is when you're in the process of making those changes. And maintenance is when it's just a habit. And termination is actually when it's a habit. Maintenance is when you've been on a path for about 6 months. And you can move back and forth between those stages. You can be in an action phase and doing great, and something can come along and pose a problem, and you might go back to not doing that behavior. And that's called relapse. The processes of change are recommended for different stages. So if you're in the action phase, for example, that's when having someone who is cheering you on or holding you accountable or walking down that path with you can really help you to be successful. Where a helping relationship is not really beneficial at pre-contemplation. It's when somebody has that good behavior and they poke at you and you don't really care because it's not important to you. So helping relationships have a time and a place. For decision balance, we always have to look at the pros and cons. So as you think about what behavior you want to change, you want to look at the disadvantages and the advantages. And that might be health advantages and health disadvantages. It could be financial. It could be relationship, right? So it's important that you need to have the belief that there are more advantages than disadvantages, and or advantages to make the change. So it's not always real clear that your advantages are better because it can change your daily routine. It can, there can be disadvantages that are quite strong that you might not be able to overcome. Self-efficacy is your confidence level, and we find that small successes improve our confidence level. And as we get more confidence or our self-efficacy improves, we have a greater likelihood that we'll continue in that behavior. Temptation is the amount of struggle, I guess we could say, that you face when you are trying to get rid of that behavior. Temptation can be quite strong, and we often think of that as, or misplace some words and maybe say, oh, that person is lazy because they'd rather sit around than exercise. And I'm going to suggest to you that it's not just that simple. It could be that a person doesn't feel the advantages of exercising or being active are that important to them. They might not have the confidence that they can find the time or do it. So it's not just laziness. It's so much more than laziness. So temptation might be straying from your diet, straying from drinking your water. Maybe for me, I have to stay away from gluten. But I'll tell you, there are some times that I fail and I eat it because I'll say, well, if I'm going to have some gluten, I'm going to make sure it's something I really, really like. And that's like an example of temptation. So birthday cake, for example, everyone else is eating birthday cake except me. So I have to plan ahead to make sure that I have something available, or the temptation can be very strong. The self-determination theory of change is the theory that our motivation is really toward making good choices. So you're in charge, you have the confidence, and that there's someone that you can share it with. Self-determination. We self-determine whether or not we make that change. So we do need to have support when we have a path of behavior change, or when we go down that path. Our mindset might need to be altered. There could be something in something that you've decided that you just cannot do. And for example, I'm not good at math, or I'm not good at managing money, or I'm not good at cooking. There's no way. I've never been good at swimming. Fixed is that you can't do any better. And you come up with, instead of trying, you say, you know what, this is how I am. I'm this way. That can happen with how you respond to people and relationships. I just am this way. Take it or leave it. That's a fixed mindset. You also become attached that behavior is your identity. So here's another one. I'm a smoker. I've tried so many times, I can't quit. You become a smoker, not a person who smokes, but a smoker. Your behavior is your identity. Versus growth. A growth mindset means that you can learn, you can gain skills, you can improve, that you are not the behavior, but you're a person who can learn to improve and to do that behavior. So we don't burden ourselves with that negative or define ourselves by that behavior. Again, we need to have support. Helping others will help you as well. I will tell you, whenever you have somebody that jumps on and wants to do something with you, and you both are supporting each other, it gives you that accountability, and it makes it more enjoyable and more likely that we'll be successful.